So for those who haven't been keeping up with all the news, there's been a lot going on with me right now, as well as kind of the fandom in general, as I've been suffering a lot mentally and have even gotten into some controversy within the community, and I know that based on what I've seen, a lot of you are very concerned about my mental state, but also a decent amount of you are also very upset at me for my actions. Both feelings, in my very honest opinion, are justified. And as a result, despite all of the guilt currently inside of me, I decided to make this video so all of you can be informed about my situation, as well as what might be happening to this channel. Now, for those who are wondering, I'm not making this to gain sympathy or pity points because I've already done that way too much. I'm just here to come clean, explain what's going on, what happened, and my honest response. And in case you couldn't tell, this isn't going to be like a normal video. There aren't going to be funny, clean edits or Hideaki going off script, chill music, none of that. I'm just here to give a rundown of everything that happened, so you can be informed correctly and make your own judgments. And as a warning, I will be discussing some very mature and serious topics in this video, so if you're a parent with their child or someone on the younger side, I greatly advise you to click away now. None of my videos are really intended for kids, but especially not this one. But with all of this out of the way, I think it's time for me to explain myself. So before I even get into my thoughts, we really need to go over what actually happened. Because based on the response I got from my community post, I did not do a good job of explaining myself or the situation, as many accused me of being biased and trying to gain sympathy without explaining the full picture. So with that, I'm going to try and explain as much as I can, including why I've been in this recent controversy, my thoughts on the situation, and what I plan on doing from here. So a while back I made the Bluey icebergs. They've been kind of a long-running series on my channel, and I know a lot of you enjoyed them, but if you checked recently, you'll notice that the first two are gone. Now, there is a reason for this, and I'll explain why. So for those who've actually seen the video, you'll know that everything is relatively standard until the ending. That's because, at the time, I wanted to show the, I guess, dark side of the fandom. You know, the types of people who make sickening art of the characters doing adult stuff. And I thought that by mentioning this, I could warn people about this kind of stuff and maybe they can avoid seeing this horrific imagery. However, they always say that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I, for one, arguably accomplished this in a way that was not right, not okay, and upset a lot of you. First of all, I actually showed the stuff in the video, albeit heavily censored and cut off. I got the art and showed it in my videos. This understandably has raised red flags in a few of you. Of course, I could have just explained what was going on without showing these pictures or, just ignored everything like I should have done, but I did not do that. I did the opposite. And while I was trying to condemn these pictures and definitely do not support them, I know looking back, I could have handled this so much better. I should have never shown those pictures at all, even heavily censored. It was an incredibly reckless and irresponsible thing for me to do. And quite stupidly, something I didn't realize was an awful mistake until it was too late. And yes, for those who are wondering, I was a minor when I made these videos. Some may argue that this should excuse me because I wasn't trying to be some adult doing this stuff, but I was still a teenager then, and actually a teenager now, although older of course. But I was at the age where I should have known better, and that this decision, albeit without any actual ill intent, was gonna come back to bite me when I became more famous. As at the time, my following was pretty small, In fact, my first iceberg video was kind of my first really big breakthrough hit. I had no clue that I would become as popular as I am now, and did not even think about the consequences stuff like this could have. And if I could go back in time, I would go up to myself, grab a knife, and stab this guy as hard as I can. Not only for making me suffer in the long run, but also so I would never see the situation I'm in now. Because as much as I have improved and tried everything in my power to become a better person, I know this is never going to fully go away, and that this will be a stain on my image for basically as long as I live. However, going back to the main issue, many of you know that I had a very concerning and very serious mental breakdown recently, where I said a lot of choice words and I got into more trouble. It even got to the point where I prepared to take my own life. However, this all started when I said I was taking a break from Twitter. Yeah, knowing the reputation of that place, some of you are probably rolling your eyes already, but please stick with me. So the fandom, especially on places like Twitter and Reddit, have become a little tense as of recently. There's been a lot of arguments and a few emotions flying around, and some of my good friends have already made the jump to other places, but overall, it was tolerable. Because looking back, it wasn't that bad. However, this apparently didn't matter to me, as at the time, I was a very tense and easy to upset person. I had been dealing with a lot mentally at the time, and still am, as my family has been fighting a lot, to the point that I don't even like to talk to them unless it's absolutely necessary, and I've been suffering huge burnout from school. I had also been worried about the current status and future of my channel. I felt that my views were decreasing, and with more people covering the show, I had this irrational fear that I would eventually become irrelevant and become forgotten. Besides that, there's also a few other insecurities going on in my life, but I'm not here to make more excuses for myself, because what I did as a result of my stress was not appropriate and not something a normal person should ever do. So after I announced my break on Twitter, expressing my distaste in the current state of the fandom, which by the way was not just caused by a picture of the busker that went viral, it was because of a lot of things happening at the same time, and that picture going viral, which seemingly confirmed my unhinged belief that the fandom had lost all of its morality or charm, kind of sent me over the edge. And I know that with my outburst, some of you felt bad for participating in this trend, but I just wanted to say that, for the most part, I was the one who was in the wrong. I should have just ignored it and all the other stuff going on. This was my fault, and you should carry no guilt for partaking in this, even if the trend was a bit annoying to some. However, I failed to explain that this wasn't the sole reason. In fact, I had been kind of cryptic with my posts because I was setting up a joke I was gonna make against this kind of stuff, but I decided to back out last minute. And because of this and my lack of explanation, people thought I was some nutcase who was seriously losing it over a partially, barely suggestive image of a rectangle dog. And when I said that I was essentially done with the fandom, this is where things went from bad to absolute hell. Because the next day I decided to check my Twitter feed again. Despite what I've said, I just had to see what happened, mainly just to see how people reacted to this potential announcement, but honestly because I have to admit I am dangerously addicted to social media. And for the most part, the response was pretty mixed, as I received lots of support, but also a lot of criticism for my behavior, which looking back was completely justified. However, because of my severely falling mental state, I wasn't having any of it. I completely lashed out and basically lost any cool I had left. Now, for the sake of time, I won't get into all the details, but to summarize, when I had my outburst, people used it as an opportunity to make me feel even more insecure about myself. And if there's one thing you should know is that feeding trolls or haters is just like feeding pigeons. Because, yeah, calling them out or striking back may seem satisfying at first, but with this, they'll only act worse, and only more will come to attack you. It's a vicious cycle, and one, against all my better judgment, I fell for because I couldn't take it anymore. However, don't think that I only got hate because some trolls wanted to pick on me, because that's not true, as there were also many other, more level-headed people who also criticized and condemned my actions. I won't get into names because I don't want anyone involved to be harassed, but regarding the whole Bluey R34 in the iceberg situation, this really came into the spotlight with my recent breakdown, as a few people accused me of being a hypocrite. Like, how could I have such a distaste for stuff like the busker image or all of the shipping art, when I am sick and horrible enough to put these things in my iceberg videos? And yeah, some on my side did argue that I didn't know better at the time because I was a stupid, inexperienced individual who was completely unaware of the consequences and the harm I may have been causing. But, as some of my critics have said, I could have taken much, much better action. I could have taken the videos down. I could have edited the scenes out. I could have remade them like I promised. All the way back in November. November! That's about 3 months I spent saying that I will make these changes and doing absolutely nothing. Now, I want to say that this was an honest mistake. I thought I would just remake and edit the videos in a few days, but I never got around to it. I was just really busy with school and already stressed out in general, because even though I don't constantly mention them, I've been suffering from a lot of issues, especially mentally, over the past couple years. But that's not a full excuse because I know I could have saved time to make these changes. And once again, I could have easily spent just a second removing the videos, or literally a few minutes editing the offending parts out, neither of which came to my mind for some really stupid reason, because my mind at the time completely blanked out, and didn't even consider the option of editing the original videos. But whether it was an honest accident or not, I still hold responsibility for this. This was still my fault. Also, because of my expressed anger towards the shipping art, I had also been kind of accused of being homophobic. Now, I've been afraid to say this for a very long time because this has nothing to do with my content, and I know some of you might judge me for this, but I am actually by myself. As in like BI, not like by myself as in like alone, but like BI. And if you don't believe me or think I'm just trying to gain pity points, ask any of my closest friends. They'll tell you I'm not lying. But regarding why I was actually upset with all the shipping art, it's not because I'm against LGBTQIA plus representation or different types of relationships. If these things are what makes you happy or doing this stuff satisfies you personally, then feel free to go for it. As long as you're not harming anyone, people do not have a right to judge you. However, I was upset because, based on my very personal, specific experience, it's becoming repetitive. I mean, at first, yeah, it was fun and very interesting to see how many characters we can pair up, and all to my knowledge being adults, of course. But to me, it just kind of got to a point where it was all that I saw, as no matter what was going on, people just shared and ate up this stuff non-stop, and it got to a point where I wasn't even seeing Bluey art that didn't involve shipping, and to me, I just felt like the idea was getting old. But once again, that's just my very, very personal view. And when the other side began to criticize these people for making this stuff, I felt like it only got worse, just because now neither side is happy. One side is upset that they're being criticized over something they shouldn't really, and responding by just doing more of it, and the other is increasingly angry over how their precious show is supposedly ruined by fan art on Twitter? However, despite what I think or don't think about the situation, I was not in the right mental state to make the comments I did. I should have just kept my mouth shut and stayed on the sidelines, but I did not do that. And for anyone who I may have upset, I really, really apologize, and I encourage you to keep doing your thing. It was my fault I became upset, and I should have just done the mature thing and ignored it, or taken an actual break so my mind can act rationally. After all of this, I understandably received a lot of hate and backlash, many who were accusing me of being a pedophile because of my iceberg videos, and others for my immature, unhinged rants and how I was using my position to gain sympathy without being fully honest, which mainly came from my explanation in my YouTube community page, as I tried to give a best summary of what was going on, but it's become clear I did not do a good job of explaining what actually happened, or why I was receiving the negative attention I got. There were also some who were saying that I wasn't actually being serious, as many of you have seen my previous mental episodes, and that me acting stressed or saying this type of stuff is nothing really new. In fact, I'll be honest and admit that, sadly, this is something that's happening more and more often to me. And because of this, some of you didn't take me seriously because, yeah, I would probably just come back seemingly unharmed the next day. So I don't blame you for thinking this. However, with all of the accusations being thrown at me and all of the negative attention in general, my mental state completely fell apart, so eventually I just gave up. I was going to basically take my own life. And despite all of my friends telling me otherwise, I felt as if I already made up my mind. After everything I went through, I felt like there was no going back because I felt my career was done, and because of my past egregious decisions, I would be forever remembered as this sick, despised individual who was reckless, immature, and full of nothing but hate. And with nothing else working, I felt as if the only way to pay for this was in blood. I literally felt as if I deserved to die, because of the horrible decisions I made, the burden I had been on everyone, and how much some people hated me for what I did years ago. Part of me even wished that somebody would actually kill me just to put me out of my misery. But as you can probably tell, that's not what happened. At the time, I became so miserable that I refused to eat. I had no energy left in me, and despite everything I thought up, I really didn't know what was the easiest way to take my own life away. So I eventually fell asleep, and the next day, I got a chance to see my family, and I just had to come clean and tell them everything. I admitted the terrible mistakes I made, the deep backlash I got for it, and for the first time in my life, admitted that I had intentions of hurting myself. Because as hated as I was, and despite all of the things I've done, I guess some people didn't want me to die, so I gotta stick around for them at least, right? I mean, if I can't save my own face for the life of me, the least I could do is at least possibly motivate others, I guess. But with that said, I won't get into everything I discussed with my family, but one thing you need to know is that from now, I am finally seeking professional help with my current issues, not only for myself, but also all of you, because none of you deserve to go through this kind of behavior. And starting from now, I will do everything in my power to ensure that this type of stuff never happens again. I was wrong for waiting this long to seek help for my issues, and it was all my fault for letting myself lose control of this situation. But I am trying to get better, hopefully for good, and with my current state, I am also hoping to be diagnosed with any potential mental disorders or other things I should be more aware of, just so I can better handle these issues I have in the near future. However, as of writing this, I have not gotten any confirmed results yet, and also with this in mind, as well as my past choices coming into scrutiny, this leads me into my next point. So, with my actions and everything in mind, yes, I am seeking help, but I know this does not completely address what I've done. I still made a big mistake, albeit one I should have taken more action against, something I regrettably did not do. And once again, I know this doesn't fix everything, but I deeply, deeply apologize with every vein in my body, and I only wish that I could have realized sooner how some people may interpret my actions, and that I wasn't such a stupid, idiotic person when I began making content. I thought I was doing the right thing warning people about this stuff, but it's beyond clear I could have handled this in so many better ways, and I will forever be ashamed that my brain could not think of a better solution until it was too late. But if you still believe what I did was completely wrong, I'm not here to argue with you, because I completely understand why you feel this way. I mean, if I saw this happening, I would probably avoid this channel too. So if you want to leave, unsubscribe, or disown my content or me as a person, I won't judge you for doing so. Because even if there is a lot of disagreement, by criticizing what I did, I guess it shows that you're willing to stick to your beliefs, and despite what others may argue, and even if it's against me, I can respect that. And from now, I have decided to take an actual break from social media. I don't know when I'll return or even if I will, because as much as I love interacting with my followers and supporting others in the community, I know it's not good for my mental health as a whole, and that we can all kind of agree that the environment hasn't been the most stable as of recently. Also, regarding my YouTube channel, I know that the majority of you, despite all of the controversy, still want me here. I can't count how many of you, upon seeing my post, responded with some very supportive messages, and saying how much my content has helped your life. It's an absolute honor that I can't even fully describe. But with that said, I feel as if I must make the right decision and step away. Now, depending on how everything goes, I may return in the near future, but I feel that it is best to at least let this situation cool down, and if the people request it, I am willing to change positions if necessary. If you really want someone else to record these videos or run this channel altogether, I encourage you to comment it down below. Because I want this channel to continue thriving, and I want people to be inspired and entertained, but at this moment, I just don't know what to exactly do regarding my channel and myself. And with everything said, I just wanted to set the record straight to the best of my ability, let you all know what's been up with me, and explain what may be happening in the future. I don't know when I'll be back, but this is the most I can say for now. All of this is something I deeply, deeply regret, and something that will stick with me forever. Whether I die today, tomorrow, next week, or 50 years later, I will never forget this for as long as I live. It's a mistake I will never deny, and whether you think this is not an issue at all, or a complete atrocity on my behalf, it's something I still feel really bad about, purely because of the discourse, anger, and discomfort it caused. Now, as I mentioned, most of you might not think this is a big deal, as some of you have told me that these people missed the context or are just overreacting, but regardless, It's something I did, and something I still feel the need to take responsibility over and address so the situation doesn't get worse, which is exactly why I made this video. I hope this explains all of the important stuff, and for now, I have to take some time to care for myself, reflect on my actions, and take the steps I need to become not only a better version of myself, but to be a better person for all of you. Because even outside of these incidents, I know I haven't said the best stuff or acted the best way, especially on places like Twitter or Discord, and I blame myself for losing control of my entire mental situation and making a lot of my friends worried or bothered in the process. By the end of this, I will not stop until I change myself for the better and get rid of these issues once and for all. I know it will be a rough journey ahead and the changes will not happen instantly, but I will try everything in my power to make things right for all of you. Although as of now, I still do read every comment I get, even if I don't say anything, so thank you. But with that said, thank you for sticking around and listening to this super long discussion. Goodbye, everyone, and please make sure to take care of yourself.